He married Aunt Vivian, who was a farm girl.
She was a cook, I'll tell you.
She was 20 years younger.
She cooked herself to death. She loved fried sausage for breakfast and fried eggs and
Now,
fried
she
this
was
and
a
fried
farmer's,
that.
a cook.
I
She
mean,
was
that's
the
what
kind of
you
cook you
ate,
think
you
about
know.
when you
The
think
major
about
meals
old
were
days.
breakfast and dinner. Supper was
Leftovers,
leftovers and so forth. My grandmother made rivel soup, which we found down in
Riddle?
Rivel, R-I-V-V-E-L. We found it down in Shipsawana. They had rivel soup.
What is it?
I described
Okay,
it
next
to
we're
Maggie.
going to talk to Mike about what he remembers about Christmas.
The same stuff you do for your
I remember
throwing
coming
noodles.
downstairs and open up
It
all
was
the
egg
things
and
before.
flour, and she'd drop it into boiling milk,
Huh.
and that was soup. But that's obviously a German or at least Amish food. But on the Southwest Virginia, of course, then they were English extraction. Although my grandmother's father, his name was Settlemeyer, and he was probably my most recent. He came to the United States as a kid when he would fought in the Civil War, so he would have been probably 1840s. See, a lot of German people came. Bill Hausler's whole family came in the 1840s because they were having political unrest, and they came for political, not for economic, but political reasons. And apparently he did too, but he settled in North Carolina.
So you're saying all these, which side do you understand it came earlier, the English Echols side or the German Anderson?
I'm not sure when the Echols, although some of the stuff they've sent us, research stuff, is that they came in the very early 1700s. Two brothers came to Philadelphia from England. And
Now you've told me that you know that there is some Irish and some Scottish. How do you know that?
my sister, I think, makes it up, or I don't know. There was some redheaded. My grandfather was redheaded, so if you're
But you don't know
redheaded or
specifically
no.
English or what town?
The stuff that we have gotten out of these, let me research for you, said that it Echols, they were English. Although some people were saying that British, French, because école is school.
No, but you don't have anything specific that dates to France, other than the Alsace-Lorraine, and that's the German, that's the Andy side of everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you've got Germans directly. You have evidence of German.
Lots of German.
German. You have the Alsace-Lorraine, which is German-French.
Yeah, that's right.
English by anecdotal.
Well, there are people in England who are named Echols.
But nobody that you know, no place, no relative, nothing that you could directly prove in court of law.
No.
And same for Irish and Scottish and all the rest of that stuff.
We think that there were some Irish.
I mean, it's very likely.
But
It's
we
very,
don't
very
know.
likely,
But we
but
don't know.
it's
We
not
don't know.
proven.
Then my grandfather came from, on my mother's side, great-grandfather, Settlemeyer was, I think, from Bavaria, but I'm not real sure.
Great-great-grandfather on your mother's
My
side?
great-grandfather on my father's side.
Okay, Bavaria.
And my father's mother was a Settlemeyer, and her mother was an Owens, which I think is that English? English Owens. They
So
were
there's some
Owens.
English, so there's a batch of English.
But you've got to remember that when the East was settled, that most of the early people were British, English.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of them were ne'er-do-wells and poor people and debtor's prison and the whole, the aristocracy.
A lot of them were German too.
The aristocracy didn't come to the United States, but the English did. And then those that migrated over the mountains into the Southwest Virginia, North Carolina, and Tennessee, that's where you get these Old English. They still speak Old English.
O'Hara.
When I was a little kid, down in Southwest Virginia, my family didn't speak it, but the kids in the school I went to that one year I went in the 6th grade did. And I didn't realize it was Old English until I was learning Chaucer in college.
Is that right? That's
And they would
interesting.
say, "Hit don't matter none." It was hit, H-I-T. You got airy pencil? No, I ain't got nary pencil. That's all in Chaucer.
got
That's
nary
every
pencil.
bit of it. Every bit of it is in Chaucer.
Very interesting.
So they were Old English, Elizabethan, they got into the mountains where there was very, very little
Interaction.
commerce.
Interaction.
And if you go to Cades Cove, and
I've been there.
you'll know that those people didn't know what was over the mountain.
She's got it.
People didn't know what was over the mountain, and they didn't really care to find out. So anyway,
Okay, well,
That's
you know,
the
I want
lyrics that
to,
I
you
know.
That
know,
was pretty interesting,
Yeah.
Dad.
now my
That's good.
grandfather, Andes, we think is partly English and partly German. Andes, you know, there's
Pass
the
the
Andes
Bible,
Mountains,
please, honey.
and there's Andes candy and whatever.
Well,
and how far have you traced the Andes to? Germany? Alsace-Lorraine? What was this? All of a sudden I hear a few years ago it's Alsace-Lorraine, which is that disputed land
somewhere
between
along
Germany and...
somewhere along the
Dinner plate.
line, every
Your
time
dinner
I
plate.
The Kleins came from Alsace-Lorraine.
It's the Kleins, and we know the Kleins go way back. We've got that all
now
in a whole
here's a
book.
question for you. The Kleins, as I've always seen it, is K-L-I-N-E.
Or C-L-I-N-E, or K-L-I-N,
K-L-E-I-N too.
or K-L-E-I-N.
Klein because that's the German spelling of it, which means small. But
The
K-L-I-N-E is
Who
an
the
takes
book
your
English spelling.
downstairs,
I need a spoon.
a guy,
Where's this book?
a professor at Bridgewater
There you
College
go.
went back and did a lot, and it's sitting down there on the shelf if you want to go read about it. He tells you pretty much of what occurred.
Because every time people ask me where you're from and I tell them about cleavers, I can do that pretty easily. But when it comes to the Echols side,
Just
I
tell
always
him you're a
say,
mongrel.
I say Alsace-Lorraine, and I'm trying to remember where I heard that. That has to do with
That's in
Kleins
that
then.
book.
England, France.
That's Klein then, right? I don't use sugar, thanks.
Okay.
But the British,
I'll have some milk though, please.
the only thing we
This
know
is
is that some brothers probably
This is
came
all there is
from
of this pie now.
England sometime after the 1710, 20, whatever, and they settled in Philadelphia and then worked their way
And they were
down.
Echols?
They were Echols.
Hmm.
Now Mark Elkin,
Hmm.
who writes a paper now, a magazine, he writes a magazine, and he sent me one where there was an Echols, E-C-H-O-L-S family in Lynchburg that were Quaker. So they may have been Quaker at one time. Although during the Civil War they did take part. Now I'm prouder of my Andy's side though, because they didn't. In fact, one of my great-grandfathers was sent to Libby prison because he refused to fight.
Okay.
Oh, Church of the Brethren, where's that? Eccles Cracker.
You told me
There's an
about Eccles Cracker. Okay,
there's
you
an
told
Eccles
me about
Cracker.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, not I.
that's
I
pretty
didn't tell you
popular.
that.
Okay, Mike told me.
I know about that. An Eccles Cracker. And crackers over there are cookies.
Yeah.
Or
None of-
biscuits. They're
Biscuits,
Eccles
biscuits.
biscuits.
Biscuits are cookies.
But none of our
Crackers.
family, as
Crisps
far
are-
as I can see,
Potato chips.
were ever really great people. We didn't trace to the Washingtons or the Jeffersons
Well, you
or
had
the
that one.
Madisons
You had
or
that.
Monroes.
Now, was it your great grandfather? Or your great great grandfather?
My
was General John
grandmother's,
Eccles?
yeah, my
Which one is
grandmother's,
he? Great great or great?
great. My grandmother's,
Is he my
Father.
great great?
yeah, my grandmother's father, Settlemeyer, was an inventor. And he didn't invent much of anything, except that she told me, and she usually embellished things, that he got a fair amount of money because, you know, these little toddler chairs that'll go any which way, he invented that little wheel that will revolve.
Oh, really?
And he patented it and got some money out of it.
Huh.
But I think she may have made up half of that. I'm not real
Well,
sure.
that's good enough. We'll take it. We
But
like it.
you know, when you're studying history, you remember what was the guy who was the historian in Caro?
We'll see.
Oh, we'll see.
Wilsey. Dor Wilsey was giving a lecture, and he was kind of a cocky person.
Oh,
He was
honey.
giving a lecture
He
at
was.
the
though.
Exchange Club,
You
and
tell that every time.
he was telling about what happened in the Thumb in the 1400s and the 1500s, and I went up to him afterwards and I says, well, how do you know? You know, there's no written history or anything. He says, that's right. So whatever I say, that's the way it is. So your cousin Joe wanted to do the history of that farm that they live on, you know, because they could.
Your cousin Joe or my cousin Joe?
My cousin Joe, your cousin Joe, they're both.
Our second
Our
cousin
cousin Joe.
His
The
cousin.
farm I grew up on
Right,
came
right,
into
right,
the
that Joe.
Andes
Joe
family.
Andes.
Right, Joe.
around the turn of the century. My grandfather homesteaded in North Dakota and then came back, and so anyway, he wanted to write a history of it. He wanted to go back, but he got stuck because, like we said, Custer burned all of the things, including the courthouse record, so there's just no record.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, Joe, just make up anything you want to.
Yeah.
And nobody can disprove you, because a
Yeah.
lot of the, records there were just burned.
So, now when you lived, something I wasn't clear about, but when you lived with your
There's
mom's,
parents.
who's your mom's
Right.
Aunt Artie.
Yeah.
Aunt Artie, Uncle Brian, and then your
Andy's.
grandparents
Grandma Andy's.
lived in.
You
in the
met who?
farm.
He's
Grandfather?
asking you. Yes, you're right, honey.
You met grandfather?
You met your
So,
grandfather.
who was the female influence in your life then? Was it Grandma,
Probably, mostly, I would imagine.
Aunt Artie, or was it Aunt Artie?
Well, there was.
She was never really a mother, though. So,
Well, they-
No, she saw herself as a
Nurture.
mother. It
Did she?
was worth $20,000 to use.
well, what I'm asking is, she never had kids of her own. So did
No,
she?
She saw
And your
herself
grandmother. I
as
mean,
kind of
usually
a mother.
those that act as mother figures are those that have given birth somewhere along the line. So
Yeah,
was it your
she-
grandma?
Yeah. When I was a little boy, I remember I was pretty sad. I was 6 years old, and I remember when I get upset, she'd put me in bed with her, and I'd sleep. She was kind of chunky, and
Grandma.
she had a big fat arm.
Who, Artie or Grandma?
Grandma.
Grandma.
That was my pillow. Had
Uh-huh.
a big fat arm.
Uh-huh. Huh.
And
That's a good
she
memory.
probably gave me more mothering influence. No, Aunt Artie never did any of that. So she probably.
And your sister
Yeah.
was there the whole time that you were there?
No, she left to go after she graduated from high school.
But I mean, when
She
you were
went to
kids, you
college.
guys always stayed together.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see Artie as a mother. Our children were around Aunt Artie. She treated them the way I think she treated you. Very nice. Hello there. How are you doing? And but sort
Like
of
an
distant.
adult,
But
like
she
an adult.
right. But she
Yeah.
never ran over and hugged you and
Yeah,
bounced you.
I don't really remember her as being a
She
real
never did that. She didn't do that to anybody
girl.
though. But she wasn't nasty or not nice. It's just she just treated you more as a I don't know maybe. I thought I was looking for a nice little can. I couldn't find
What's you measuring there, Mike?
Pecans? Making a little pecan pie?
All right. Family favorite. Do you have supervision from the master?
He's doing fine.
Master.
He doesn't need supervision. I just came
Master
to
is here.
observe. I came to learn from the expert. He's the
Master.
my
Yeah,
patient.
right.
Master is here. She's giving me the good passive wisdom of her presence. We have pecans. We have the tried and true recipe on the back of the bottle.
I've never used that one. No, I use the one from Williamsburg, Virginia.
And what are you doing, Dad?
Classic, 3 eggs, cup of syrup. The same one, huh? Vanilla,
What's that?
pecans.
You know what? It turned to taste just like yours, and I got such rave reviews.
So
Yeah, that's pretty nice. Where'd you get that?
Last two times that I,
It says classic. I bet that's the Williamsburg.
Ooh.
Williamsburg, Virginia is the one.
That's
we're
pretty.
talking about. That's in Betty Crocker, I think.
Do some more of that, Mom.
Oh, you like Stewart's way of crimping a pie crust.
Oh, yeah?
2 fingers like this and then push in. 2 more fingers and push in. Of course, this one's already done. But look at this one.
Let's see that again.
Turned
Do
out.
another one.
2 fingers and push in.
Ah.
And then just... There. This is what I had left over, and I thought we could just have a small pie kind of as an appetizer before the big one's done. If he's gonna... It's a 9-inch pie crust one, so it ought to be okay.
should be enough.
Save a tablespoon or so out for this one.
Just a bunch of nuts sitting on top of pure
Oh,
sugar.
that's fine, that's fine. Ooh, nice.
You know what? If I didn't make my own pie crust, I had to go out and buy them. And what I had from last year was some pie crusts that I think you must have bought.
What were they?
And,
Frozen or?
They were frozen, and then you made your own pie crust, and that was fine. But if you get these pre-formed ones,
Yeah.
they're horrible.
Oh, I hate those. I hate those. In fact, I have 2 or 3 in the freezer right now that I'm
I've never ever
gonna
used
feed the
those.
birds. Don't ever buy those.
Yeah.
They're so shallow,
They're
honey.
shallow and they're not big enough, and they say 9 inches and they aren't 9
Nope,
inches.
they're not.
They're in these little
I did a-
aluminum foil containers, and you can't get the crust up when you cut them.
I made a big mistake. I did that.
Sounds
Good night.
You want me to get this out or leave it in there? Just dress it. You want to leave it in there, okay? We don't have any more home.
It's about midnight. 600 bulbs on this puppy. Doing a little art stuff here with the camera. She got this little top girl here. Very nice. She got some of the detail in Mom's wonderful tree. Ooh, ooh. That's nice. Okay, Mom is
This
currently
is good bread, honey. This is
helping
good
us
bread.
take stuff home. We got leftovers here. Dave's bag right here. We're packing up. We're throwing halupkis in. Piles of halupkis. There they are. Some, I'm taking these two right here. Some
Ham
jams.
sandwiches, huh?
Yep. Taking all this stuff. We're trying to get everything in our bags.
Let me wrap a sandwich for
Here's
you.
Mom's making sandwiches. A little ham sandwich left over. Here's Mike. Mike has bags that weigh over 100 pounds.
Going for 100, going for 200 now.
But the halupkis, we think they're going to be over 100. About 90 pounds. There's Dave's junk. More Dave's stuff. New luggage. Dave's new luggage.
Yeah.
With all our little stockings. By the way, these are stockings that Aunt Lil made for Mike and I when we were probably 3 or 4. It's our original baby pins in them and all that. Our little Christmas stockings. Mom and Dad have some new ones. We don't know what that is. There they are. There's our father.
Excuse me. Mike. Mike. Why don't we?
Can I take?
Who needs a tag?
Coffee,
You need a tag?
beers. Yep.
Hello, Dave.
Hello. Yes. There you go. Okay. Here we are, last of the Pilsner glasses, last of the beer.
Used to love this
We did pretty good with the beer. Little ham sandwiches for the road here, very tasty. Some more of that. And we're doing pretty good. We're wrapping it up. It's 11:15. We're gonna leave here by 11:30. My flight's at 1:30 and Mike's is at 2:40. And we're bidding adieu. We're bidding fond farewell adieu to the Caro of '95, the soon to appear local videos with you.
Yes.
This is Dave and his slick back hair thing, and gets all hard, and then he shakes it out, and then it looks all straight and nice. And with my new luggage, I'm real excited about trying out my new luggage. Finally, I'm very happy about that. Mike has, as we've mentioned, over 100 pounds of stuff. I
Okay,
probably
you can
have
turn
close to
around,
that
Mike.
much. Mike turns around and waves.
Bean soup.
Bean soup.
Mm.
Yeah, Loki's, bean soup, ham, everything we could think of. Okay, so thank you. We'll see you in the videos. See you in the movies.
Okay, press
Let
this
everybody
button.
say goodbye to the Echols family of '95. Wave goodbye.
Why don't you come behind the table where Dave is
Wave
and
goodbye. Okay, hit it, Mom.